Rain poured relentlessly over the private airfield as a sleek black helicopter stood lifeless under the flashing red lights of the control tower. Its blades hung still, drenched in water, while several men in suits stood nearby, glancing nervously at their watches. The Billionaire CEO, Richard Harlow, tapped his expensive leather shoes impatiently, glaring at the grounded machine. "This is ridiculous," he muttered. "I have a meeting in 30 minutes. Get me someone who can fix this mess right now." The mechanics on site exchanged uneasy looks. The helicopter was a new, custom-built model, too advanced for most to handle. The lead engineer had just thrown his hands up, saying the system had completely crashed. No spare parts. No quick fix. Then, from the shadows near the hangar, a young man in an old, oil-stained jacket stepped forward. His name was Ethan Cole. Barely in his 20s, he worked at the airfield cleaning tools and checking tire pressures for a few dollars an hour. "I might be able to take a look," Ethan said quietly. Richard turned toward him, then burst out laughing. "You. Look at you. You don't even look like you can afford a bus ticket, and you think you can fix a multi-million-dollar helicopter." Everyone laughed with him. Everyone except Ethan. He didn't flinch. He simply met Richard's eyes and said, "Sir, I may not have money, but I know engines. Machines speak when you listen carefully." The laughter faded into an awkward silence. Then, almost mockingly, Richard waved his hand. "Fine. Go ahead, genius. Fix it. If you can get it running in 20 minutes, I'll pay you whatever you want." Ethan took a deep breath, stepped up to the chopper, and began to work. His hands moved with confidence and precision, his eyes scanning every detail. He pulled open panels, listened to the faint clicks of the system, and adjusted a few loose components that had escaped the other engineers' attention. The other mechanics whispered among themselves, watching him in disbelief. He didn't use any high-tech tools, just intuition, knowledge, and raw experience. Minutes passed. Richard checked his watch again, impatiently. "Time's up," he said with a smirk. But before he could finish, Ethan pressed a switch. The helicopter's engine roared to life, blades beginning to spin in perfect sync. The control screen lit up with green indicators, everything functional. The entire crew froze. Richard's expression shifted from mockery to pure shock. What did you do?" he asked, walking closer. Ethan wiped his hands on a rag. It wasn't the main system. A small calibration chip had been knocked out of alignment. The sensors misread it as a system failure. "I just reset it manually." Richard stared at him. For a man who had seen millions flow through his hands, he was speechless. "Who taught you all this?" Ethan hesitated, his eyes softening. "My father. He was a mechanic too. He used to fix helicopters for the rescue teams. Died on a mission trying to save stranded kids after a flood. He taught me to never underestimate a broken machine, or a broken person." For the first time that night, the billionaire didn't know what to say. His arrogance faded into humility. "Get in," he said quietly, gesturing toward the helicopter. "I want to show you something." Moments later, they were in the air. The rain clouds parted, revealing the city lights below like scattered diamonds. Richard looked over at Ethan, his tone sincere now. "You know, I built my company believing money could solve everything. But tonight, you proved something I'd forgotten, that skill, heart, and determination are worth more than all the cash in the world." Ethan didn't reply. He just smiled faintly, the wind rushing past the window beside him. When they landed at Richard's skyscraper headquarters, the billionaire made a call. Within minutes, his HR head appeared with a contract. "Ethan Cole," Richard said, handing him the document, "I want you to head my new mechanical innovations team. You'll design systems, fix problems, and get paid what you truly deserve." Ethan blinked, stunned. "Sir, I don't even have a degree." Richard smiled. "Then we'll sponsor your education. Talent like yours shouldn't go unnoticed." Tears welled in Ethan's eyes. He thought of his father, who had worked his whole life without recognition. He could almost hear his voice saying, "Keep fixing what's broken, son, even if it's people." Months later, Ethan's name was engraved on a new helicopter model developed under his leadership, a machine dedicated to rescue missions, named the Phoenix 1, symbolizing rebirth through perseverance. At the unveiling ceremony, Richard stood beside him and said to the audience, "Never judge a person by their clothes or background. Greatness often comes from those who've had to build it from the ground up, with their bare hands." Ethan looked out over the crowd, feeling the warmth of the applause. His heart was full, not of pride, but of peace. Because he'd fixed more than a helicopter that night, he'd fixed his future, his purpose, and even the billionaire's broken understanding of true worth.